Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, email it to me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives and become one of our friends on Facebook. Facebook.com/Radio Detectives. Before we do get started, I do want to let you know the program's brought to you by the financial support of our listeners. And you can become a regular monthly donor at patreon.greatdetectives.net. And have an amount as little as $2 a month automatically sent to support the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. You can also give a one-time donation, support.greatdetectives.net. Well, now it's time for today's episode of The Avenger. The original air date, November 15th, 1945, and the title, The Eyes of Shiva.
The Avenger.
The road to crime ends in a trap that justice sets. Crime does not pay.
The Avenger, sworn enemy of evil, is actually Jim Brandon, a famous biochemist. Through his numerous scientific experiments, Brandon has perfected two inventions to aid him in his crusade against crime as the Avenger. The telepathic indicator by which he is able to pick up thought flashes, and the secret diffusion capsule, which cloaks him in the black light of invisibility. Brandon's assistant, the beautiful Fern Collier, is the only one who shares his secrets and knows that he is the man the underworld fears as the Avenger. And now, The Avenger and the Eyes of Shiva.
Come in. Oh, good evening, Mr. Thurmont.
Hello, Croft.
Have a chair, Thurmont. What's on your mind?
As though you didn't know.
Well, I can guess, of course. When a young man about town calls on to gamble in his office...
It means he's broke, Croft. I want you to okay another IOU for me.
Thurmont, you're in too deep. I can't give you any more credit.
Listen, Croft, don't try any of those cold shoulder tactics on me. I've lost a fortune in this club.
That's just the point. You already owe me $35,000, Thurmont. When are you going to pay up?
You'll get your money, but I've got to have a little time.
That's what you've been saying for a month. Now, let's get down to cases, Thurmont. Either you pay up or I use my own methods of collecting.
I see. You're all set to give me the works, aren't you, Croft?
If necessary.
Give me one more week and I can raise the money.
Sorry. I need more than your word for that, Thurmont. May I ask where you expect to get that kind of money?
From my Aunt Lydia.
Mrs. Wimbersham?
Yes.
What makes you think she'll advance you $35,000 just for the asking?
She'll have to.
And if she doesn't?
Then, well, I have another way of getting it.
No, Thurmont. I can't accept vague promises any longer. I'll give you 24 hours to raise the dough.
I can't do it in that time.
You'll have to make it a week, Croft, if you want to collect your money.
What's your plan, then? I've got to know my chances.
Well, you've heard of my aunt's rubies, the famous eyes of Shiva.
Who hasn't?
I've got a customer for those rubies, Croft.
You mean you plan to steal the rubies from your aunt?
Well, if you want to put it as crudely as that, yes. They'll be mine someday anyway, so I might as well get them now when they can do me the most good.
And if you're caught?
I don't think Aunt Lydia would prosecute. The family name and all that.
This brave customer you spoke of, who is he? It seems unbelievable to me that anyone would be foolish enough to buy such famous stones. Those rubies can never be put on the market. They'll be too hot.
My customer will give me $200,000 for them, and he has no desire to market them.
200,000? Who has that kind of dough?
A rich Indian importer. He's tried to buy the rubies from my aunt directly, but she won't sell. You see, those stones have a special significance to people of his country. At one time, those rubies were the eyes of an ancient statue of the goddess Shiva. This rich Indian owns that statue now, and he wants to have the eyes replaced.
Well, I don't know. That statue stuff's all Greek to me. I never even heard about this Shiva goddess.
You should have, Croft. Shiva is the goddess of thugs. She has 7 arms and strangles all who do not please her. I'd say she speaks your language, Croft.
Sounds like a very interesting game.
Well, Croft, in case my aunt refuses to give me the money, are you willing to give me that week's grace to get the rubies?
All right, Fairmont. I'll play ball.
Good.
Take a few days to work on your aunt for the money, though, before you risk stealing the rubies. 35 grand in the hand is worth more than 200,000 in some goddess's eyes.
It's a deal, Croft.
We have a date then, Fairmont. A week from tonight. Let's, have a drink on it.
Oh, Jim, it looks as though everyone in the Blue Book has turned out for this opening.
Well, it certainly does, Fern. A nightclub opening, too. I guess the place is made.
If they squeeze us in any tighter here, we won't dare eat any dinner.
Oh, now we must avoid that catastrophe at any cost.
Oh, Jim, help me pick out the celebrities.
Well, let's see. There's the mayor over there.
Oh.
And at the table next to him are Mrs. Lydia Wimbersham and her nephew, Hollis Thurmond.
Oh, I've heard of her. She's the richest woman in the state, isn't she?
Yes, but young Hollis is doing everything he can to relieve her of that honor. Oh, Fern, she's wearing her rubies. The earrings.
Jim, are those the famous eyes of Shiva rubies?
That's right, Fern.
Oh, good heavens, I never thought I'd see such jewels in a nightclub.
Mrs. Wimbersham doesn't appear in public very often, but when she does, she makes folks sit up and take notice.
Oh, gosh, this is exciting. Jim, let's dance. I want to get a closer look at those rubies.
All right, Fern, let's go.
Well, Aunt Lydia, did you have a good time?
I did, Hollis. You were here to invite me. It's quite a nice club.
I suppose you noticed that your rubies got more attention than the floor show.
Well, this is the first time I've worn them in a year.
I was surprised. Why did you wear them tonight, Aunt Lydia?
It's your uncle's birthday, Hollis. When he was living, I always wore the rubies on his birthday. And since his death, I've continued to do so. You knew that.
Of course. I'd forgotten.
Hollis, what's the matter? You seem preoccupied all evening.
Oh, it's the same old thing, Auntie.
You're not having money troubles again, Hollis.
I'm afraid I am, Aunt Lydia.
How much are you overdrawn this time?
It's worse than that. I might as well tell you the truth, Auntie. I'm in debt for $35,000.
Hollis, how did that happen? Why, I've always given you a generous allowance. Hollis, have you been gambling again? After you promised me.
I know. I'm wrong, and I admit it. But that doesn't satisfy my creditors.
Hollis, I won't give you the money this time.
What am I to do, then?
I don't know. You gave me your word when I paid your debts last time that it wouldn't happen again. And now this. You'll have to settle your debts as best you can on your allowance.
That sounds final, Aunt Lydia.
It is, Hollis. Believe me, my boy, it's for your own good. It's high time you settled down and lived on your income.
All right. Let's forget it, Auntie. Don't lecture me tonight.
Do you want James to drive you home, Hollis?
No. I was hoping you would invite me in for a nightcap.
Oh, of course. Come along. That's all for tonight, James. Good night. We'll have to serve ourselves, though. I gave the servants the night off.
That's all right, Auntie. Give me your key. I'll open the door.
Here. Those servants have left all the lights burning again. Go into the library, Hollis. I'll join you in a minute.
Where are you going, Auntie?
I want to put these earrings in the safe in the living room. Go ahead. Mix yourself something to drink, Hollis.
Right. Don't be long.
I'll send these rubies back to the vault tomorrow. I feel uneasy having them here in a safe. Oh, it's a relief to get them off. They're so heavy. Let me see. The combination is 3, 1, 0, 7. There. Into your little box. Back in the safe. Oh! Hollis. You startled me.
I'm sorry. I came in to ask if you think we might find the makings of a sandwich. That nightclub dinner was on the meager side.
Oh, of course. I'll see what's in the icebox. You know, Hollis, I don't think I'll ever wear the eyes of Shiva in public again.
Why not?
Well, I had the strangest feeling tonight. Oh, it's silly, I know, but suddenly I thought of the rubies as real eyes. Huge, glaring red eyes, staring back at all those people.
Come now, Auntie. None of your morbid fancies tonight.
All right, Hollis. I'm sorry. Bring the drinks into the kitchen and help me with the sandwich.
Right. I'll be with you in a moment.
I hear footsteps in this room. Who's there? Who are you? What do you want?
I want the combination to your safe, Mrs. Wimbersham.
No. No. Get out of here.
Now, if you'll just be calm and do as I say, you won't get hurt. No use to reach for the phone. The wires are cut.
This is an outrage.
Come downstairs and open up that safe, or... Well, I'm prepared to kill you if I have to. It's up to you.
All right. I'll come.
After you, Mrs. Wimbersham.
You're after the rubies, of course. But what good will they do you? No one will dare buy them.
I'll worry about that.
This way.
Okay. Now suppose you open up the safe. 3, 1, 0, 7. Very simple. Should have been able to figure that out for myself. All right, take out the rubies.
What sort of game is this? They're not here. You've already taken them.
No stalling now. Fish them out.
They're not here, I tell you. Look for yourself.
Stand back. They're not here. And you knew they weren't. Talk fast, Mrs. Wimbersham. Where are those rubies?
I don't know. I put them in the safe less than 2 hours ago, and now they're gone.
You're lying. Where are they?
Honestly, I don't know.
I'm going to get those rubies, Mrs. Wimbersham, if I have to choke the truth out of you.
Believe me, I'd tell you if I knew.
Well, we'll see about that. Talk!
Take your hands away. Choke you.
Where are they?
I don't know. Please,
Answer quick, or I'll finish the job.
I don't know what happened to them. I don't know.
Where are they?
My rubies. The eyes of Shiva.
back to the Avenger and the Eyes of Shiva.
Honestly, Jim, I feel terribly sorry for Inspector White. I'm afraid he'll be out of office if he doesn't break the Wimblesham murder soon.
Well, Fern, it's been almost a week now since it happened, and the newspapers are playing it up big. Frankly, it's a very puzzling one.
Jim, haven't you been able to pick up anything on the telepathic indicator that might help?
No, I haven't. If I'd been at the indicator the night the murder was committed, I probably could have. But by the time we found out about it, the strong emotional impulses that surround a death by violence had weakened, and I could pick up only confused impressions.
Jim, do you think Mrs. Wimblesham's nephew could have done it?
Well, evidently the police don't think so, Fern. They released Thurmont yesterday. Oh, that must be Inspector White now. Let him in, will you, Fern?
Yes, Jim. Hello, Inspector. Come in. Jim's waiting for you.
Thanks, Fern.
In the laboratory, Inspector.
Good morning, Inspector.
Well, nothing good about it, Brandon.
Have a chair, and let's hear what's on your mind, Inspector.
Now, look here, Jim. I'm going to put my cards on the table. I'm up a blind alley on this Wimblesham case.
I see by the papers that you released Thurmont.
Well, we had to. We had an airtight alibi, for the murder at least.
That leaves you high and dry for a suspect, doesn't it, Inspector?
Never hire and never dryer, Fern.
Well, Inspector, I don't know whether you want my advice or not. Usually you don't.
Stop rubbing it in, Jim. You got any ideas? Spill them. I'm open to anything.
Okay, Inspector. If you're really asking me, I'd say that Hollis Thurmont had such a good motive for both the murder and the theft that he might be the connecting link between them, provided both crimes were not committed by the same person.
Well, we've got a tail on him every minute of the day and night. And if he gets in touch with anybody, we'll know it.
And where is he now?
At the country club, playing golf.
Playing golf? His aunt's death couldn't have affected him much.
I've got an idea, Inspector. Call off your men and let Fern and me trail Thurmont for the rest of the day.
Okay. But call in a report to my office every hour, Jim. And don't give out any statements to the newspapers.
Why, Inspector, you used to love
Now
publicity.
listen here, Jim. Just because you got me up a tree, you
All right, Inspector. No feature stories until you solve the case. Come on, Fern. You and I are going to brush up on our golf.
Oh, Jim, I'd hit another ball out of bounds.
My dear Miss Collier, the idea is to keep your eye on the ball, remember?
Yes, that's just the trouble. I'm trying to keep one eye on the ball and the other on Hollis Thurmont playing there ahead of us.
Oh.
Jim, I'm convinced that young Thurmont can't be guilty.
And why not, Fern?
He's playing too good a game. His conscience must be clear.
Now, he's good, all right. We've been following him for 16 holes, and he's made at least 10 of them in par.
We're in good company. That man playing behind us is good, too.
Yes, I've noticed that.
Look, Jim.
Yeah.
Thurmont is going off for the 17th hole. Let's watch for a minute.
All right, if you think it'll improve your game. I can't believe it. He sliced that one badly.
He hit it way out of bounds in the rough.
He's setting up another one. Oh, he sliced that one, too. And it landed in exactly the same place as the other.
That 17th hole must be a jinx. Look, Jim. Thurmont is mad. He's going to stop playing.
Would you folks mind if I played through you?
Oh, no, not at all. Go ahead.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Not at all. Well, that fellow's just as good as Thurmont.
Now he's ready for the 17th hole. Wonder how he'll make out.
Oh, Thurmont's going toward the clubhouse, Fern. We better go. We don't want to give him a chance to slip away from here without us.
All right, Jim. Jim, did you see that?
Yes. That fellow who played through us sliced his ball just like Thurmont did.
And it landed in the same place, too. But he's going after his.
Well, now, that's a very strange coincidence. I wonder...
Jim, we'd better hurry if we want to catch up with Thurmont.
Yeah, right, Fern. Come on. Did Thurmont come out of the clubhouse yet, Fern?
Yes, a few moments ago, Jim. He went around to get his car.
I just called the inspector. He says we're to stay with Thurmont.
Oh, we'd better get in the car then and be ready to follow.
Right.
I think we're on a cold trail, though. Thurmont hasn't even spoken to anyone out here.
Help, get the police.
What's happened?
Mr. Thurmont, he's been strangled in his car.
Call Inspector White at police headquarters, attendant.
Yes, sir.
Tell him to get out here right away.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Jim, I can't believe it. Why, only a few moments
Fern,
ago
I want you to get a caddy and go down to the rough and get those golf
The
balls.
golf balls? Why, what in the world can they have to do with it?
Never mind that now. Get those golf balls and bring them back here.
All right, Jim.
And in the meantime, I'll see if I can pick up the trail of Thurmont's murderer.
Well, Brandon, now that we're back at headquarters and can't be overheard, What have you got to say for yourself?
Not a thing, Inspector. Evidently, Thurmont's murderer was waiting for him in his car. Thurmont was strangled in exactly the same way as his aunt.
It happened very suddenly, Inspector. Why, we just gave Thurmont a few minutes to drive around the clubhouse in his car so that we could follow him.
Don't worry about that, Fern. If the murderer hadn't caught up with him there, it would have happened somewhere else. But the newspapers are screaming for my scalp nonetheless.
We'll get the murderer, Inspector. All we have to do is find that man who followed Fern and me on the golf course. He's our man.
What makes you so sure of that, Jim?
Because Fern found only one golf ball when she went down to the rough. Thurmont hit 2 down. And our suspect hit 1 down there. Now, if our suspect really went down there to recover his own ball, he would either have picked up his own and left Thurmont's 2, or picked up all 3. Since he left 1 ball there, he must have picked up Thurmont's 2. It was too far out of bounds for ordinary stray balls.
Where does that get us?
Yes, Jim. I don't see what difference it makes whose golf balls he picked up.
If those 2 golf balls Thurmont sliced into the rough had the rubies in them, it would make plenty of difference, wouldn't it?
Jim, do you think
I certainly do, Inspector. Thurmont deliberately knocked those balls into the rough for somebody to pick up. And we know who recovered those balls.
We do? Who?
Jim means we know what the man looks like.
Inspector, I want to see every picture you've got of known criminals in this state. Come on, Fern, we're going to work.
Okay.
Well, this batch of pictures just came in this morning. Mostly parole jumpers believed headed this way.
Well, now that sounds like a good bet. No local criminal would have taken such risks of being recognized. Here, Fern, you look through that batch.
Oh, this is the craziest case I've ever worked on. None of it makes any sense.
Well, it's beginning to, Inspector.
Well, not to me.
Be patient for another day or 2, Inspector, and you'll have the newspapers eating out of your hand.
Jim, here he is.
What?
This is the man who played through us on the golf course.
Why, sure enough. Clyde Devers, jewel thief, served sentences in...
Looks like you've hit on something, Jim.
Inspector, have your men track down this golf ball.
What for, Jim?
I believe Devers was fronting this job for someone. Let's shoot for the jackpot, Inspector. This is Clutcher Croft's place, Vern. According to the inspector's list, Croft buys the type of golf ball Devers used.
Oh, but what makes you think Croft is our likeliest prospect, Jim?
Young Thurmont owed him money.
Well, it's worth a try.
Now, that's Croft's office straight through the entrance hall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know what to say. And don't be frightened, because when Croft opens the door to let you in, the Avenger will be right behind you.
I'm not afraid, Jim.
Good girl. Go ahead, then.
Come in.
Mr. Croft?
Yes? What do you want? Come in and close the door.
Mr. Croft, I'm from the firm Byers and Tremblay. We're in charge of settling the Wimbersham estate, and I'm getting a list of Hollis Thurmont's creditors. What was the amount Mr. Thurmont owed you?
Since when our gambling debt's paid off by an estate? You wouldn't happen to be a detective, would you?
Why, no, I'm...
Devers! Devers, come in here!
What's up, Saul?
Miss Dane. From the police, I think. Lock these doors, Devers. Now, speak up, miss. Just who are you?
I just came here on a hunch. I thought I might find the eyes of Shiva rubies here.
Why, this is the dame that was on the golf course. The day
The day you murdered Thurmont, isn't that right, Devers?
Who's that? Where did that voice come from?
From the Avenger, Croft.
The Avenger? We're sunk, Clutcher.
Not yet, Devers. Grab the girl. We can't see the Avenger, but we can see her. Cover her with your gun.
Reach, you.
You're playing the fool, Devers. Croft is double-crossing him. He's edging toward the inner office to make his getaway.
No, you don't, Croft. You're not hanging this rap on me.
Take it easy, Devers.
Stay where you are, or I'll drill you.
It's every man for himself now, Devers.
Come back here, Croft.
You shot. Oh.
You've had that coming for a long time, Clutcher. My gun.
Pick it up, young lady. I knocked it out of your hand, Devers.
I have it, Avenger.
Stand back against the wall, Devers. Shoot him if he makes a move.
It was Croft, I tell you. He hired me. He engineered the whole thing. He's the man
Croft
you...
is dead, Devers. Save your story for the police.
Come on in, Jim. Devers is ready to talk now.
At last, I was beginning to think he'd never break.
All right, Devers. Why did you kill Lydia Wimbersham?
Because I thought she was lying when she said she didn't know where the rubies were.
Did it occur to you that Thurmont might have taken them?
No, I didn't know anything about the Thurmont angle until after I failed to get the rubies. Then Croft told me Thurmont must have beaten us to it.
But by that time, Thurmont was in jail for questioning concerning the murder of his aunt.
Yeah. We just had to sit tight and wait until he was free to make contact with his customer.
When did you first suspect that the rubies were in the golf balls?
Not until Thurmont sliced them into the rough. I'm an expert on golf. I could see that he deliberately sliced those balls.
Then, after you recovered the balls, you went back to the clubhouse and killed Thurmont?
Croft told me to. He was afraid Thurmont would begin squawking to the police when he discovered Croft had framed him.
What was your next move, Devers?
Well, we tried to contact Thurmont's customer, the rich Indian importer, but discovered he'd sailed quietly for home as soon as he heard about Mrs. Wimbersham's murder. He was scared of getting involved, I guess.
So the rubies weren't worth a penny to you and Croft because the one and only customer for them was on the high seas.
Yeah. And by that time, we were wishing we'd never heard of the Eyes of Shiva.
Any more questions, Jim?
No, that just about cleans up the case, Inspector.
Okay. That's all, Devers. The charge is murder. 3 of them. Take them away, boys.
But, Jim, I still don't understand. If that Indian importer had sailed for home, why did Thurmont go ahead with the plan for delivering the jewels to him?
Thurmont didn't know the Indian had fled, Fern, and he was desperate for money.
Oh, good grief. No wonder the inspector said this was the craziest case he ever worked on.
Well, you can say that again, Fern. This one almost had the Avenger baffled, too.
All characters, names, places, and plots used in the Avenger program are fictitious. Any similarity to persons living or dead is purely coincidental.
This is a thought. Remember, listen for another adventure of
The Avenger.
Hello, mystery lovers. I'm Jennifer Moss, author of Town Red, the first in a series of mysteries with a metaphysical twist. Town Red has received critical acclaim and all 5 stars from avid mystery readers just like you. Town Red and the rest of my books are available in print and in ebook on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes. For more information, visit my website, jennifermoss.com. You're listening to the great detectives of old-time radio.
Welcome back. Well, I have to give the Avenger one thing. Unlike the Shadow, knocking the gun away, that's a good move. Often I've heard the Shadow just sit there and try and talk a criminal to death. That's about the only way I can think he's planning to get out of there, because even without being seen and even with hypnosis, he can unnerve the criminal, and it seems like he'd rather do that and fight them. At any rate, we do turn to listener comments and feedback. Joel said, I noticed that Street and Smith published these stories. Were they concurrent with The Shadow? Obviously a derivative idea. Well, Joel, as I said in the opening, I'm not certain the relationship between the Street and Smith stories and this particular version of the Avenger, but the original Avenger that first appeared in the radio in the 40s was based on Street and Smith stories that were published by... basically, the idea behind the Avenger was that he was going to be a combination of Doc Savage and the Shadow. And that's how the character got started. But it was near the end of the era of pulp, and of course World War II was starting. and he fell out of favor. But yeah, it was published at the same time as The Shadow, and in fact, the last Avenger story that Street and Smith published was in 1944, and it was a short story in The Shadow magazine. A lot of people don't know that the magazines, the pulp magazines, you would have The Shadow, say, as the main feature, or Doc Savage, and that would be the big cover story, but there could be 3 or 4 different backup features. Well, that will actually do it for today. Join us back here tomorrow for the adventures of Philip Marlowe, and next Tuesday, it'll be another episode of The Avenger. In the meantime, send your comments to box13 at greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives.